It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David as he talks with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio. Fall has arrived. Summer's over. And Arizona said, yep, summer's over. Switch is off. Switch to fall. Tony Merriman's here. He's the warding coordinator for the National Weather Service in Flagstaff. Welcome back to studio.
Thank you, Paul.
He's here to talk a little bit about the monsoon we had. That's what I'm calling it right now.
Sure. That's what a lot of people are calling it.
Right, because it just kind of didn't really happen. But then before we do that, yesterday, Monday, the 23rd, the first day of fall.
Right.
Wow, I noticed the leaves are changing in Flagstaff. Over the weekend, we had some lows that were going down into the 30s.
Right.
And so it's had an effect on the world around us at the moment. Right. So, but yesterday was quite the system that came through.
Right, yeah. So we just had a low pressure system come down from the Pacific, and basically it combined with Tropical Storm Lorena, moisture remnants from that, and produced quite a bit of rainfall in the central valleys and in northern Arizona as well. We even got some snow on the peaks yesterday.
I heard that. There's some snow up there, which is that anything, any kind of record or anything like that?
I'm not sure.
Does it count?
But it counts, yeah. It was snow. It was about 3/4 of an inch up at Snowball.
Measurable.
So, yeah, for sure.
As long as it measures, right?
Yep, it counts.
As long as it measures, it counts.
Yeah.
So wow, so how far down the peaks did it come? Do you know?
It was about 11,500 feet. So about maybe 1,000 feet down from the tippy top, but that's about it.
You know what that does? That gives false hope to skiers.
Yeah, right.
That it's going to be another amazing winter, and it's going to be this amazing ski season that lasts forever and ever and ever. I think Snowball had their longest ever ski season last year, between the real snow and the fake snow that they make up, the fake snow, but the snow they make. It was like the longest season they ever had.
Yeah, so as long as it stays cold up there, it could be as long as they'd like.
Yesterday's storm was interesting because as I was working through the day, the first thing I noticed was Highway 88's closed in Apache Junction. I thought, okay. And then prior to that, on Twitter, I'd seen from ADOT down the Tucson area, they were talking about some flooding and wet roads and slow down, this and that. DPS put out some pictures of cars that had gone off the road, and they were all smashed up, because people were going too fast and hydroplaning off the roads. But you could actually watch and follow that thing as it was coming up the state yesterday. And around 2:30 yesterday afternoon, I'm sitting at my desk working at home, and I hear this boom, and it shook the house, and I think both my cats took off, and it was big. But and then it downpoured for a long time, maybe an hour, and it was gone. But you could actually watch that thing move through the state yesterday.
Right, yeah. So that's typically with these larger scale systems with the low pressure coming around, you could just watch all of that precipitation just start rotating around that low pressure. And basically from Apache Junction, then starting to lift north, actually along 17 into Munns Park and Flagstaff. And as it dropped down, it started going from west to east and basically soaked the whole state for the most part.
Do you know who got the most or how much we averaged in most areas?
The big winner was Black Canyon City. They had quite a bit, I think a little over 2 inches down in Black Canyon City, but less up in Flagstaff. I had about 0.6 of an inch at my house, and a lot less farther north you went.
Okay, all right. So it made it so far north, and then it just had to curl around and drop back down.
Right,
again,
yeah.
basically.
So all of the energy was farther south, so that's where the heaviest rain was.
Well, it was nice enough to douse some of the Johnson fires, so they got to lift all the evacuations that YCSO put on there on Sunday. Everyone's a little surprised. I was talking to the Forest Service yesterday, Prescott National Forest, and everybody's they're like, it's September. It's the end of September, and we're still dealing with evacuations and wildfires going on, where typically that's not really us anymore. We're kind of done with that because August is such a nice monsoon area, and then September, of course, the monsoon ends at the end of September, but it's pretty much over with, is it not?
Right, yeah. So the monsoon season this year, it was very dry.
Very dry. Yeah, it just, nothing really jumps into my head and says, wow, that was an amazing monsoon system.
Right, yeah. So if we go a little farther back to our winter, it was a very good winter. So we had that westerly flow pretty much that continued through the spring and into the early summer months. And usually when we have a wet winter, we have a later onset of the monsoon season. But that westerly flow aloft, that drier air just kept going over Arizona and kept pushing that high pressure farther south, and we need that high pressure like into New Mexico and Texas to start getting a good monsoonal flow going. And that only happened maybe a handful of times this year, but otherwise that high pressure just kept getting pushed farther and farther south. So bad thing was a dry monsoon. Flagstaff still had the driest monsoon season on record that it's had since 1899. And but the good thing, if there's a good thing out of it, it actually opens up the Pacific for more storm systems to come through the Pacific. So what we saw yesterday, because we were continuing that westerly flow, we're more apt to get more storms coming off the Pacific. So, you know, going into the fall and into winter, what does that mean, right? Right now we're looking at
wait, no, let's not go fall, winter yet.
Okay.
No, we can't go fall, winter yet.
Sure.
So what we had over the winter months, we had El Nino this last winter, El Nino, which is the warming of the Pacific.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we had this westerly flow. And those two things were combining through our winter months. Because I did a story with you guys on this one when the monsoon just wasn't happening. I was like, okay, what's going on with this? And so we just had that winter setup all summer long. And then the monsoon, where was the monsoon? Oh yeah, there's a good question. Where was the monsoon? If it wasn't in Arizona, where the heck was it?
Sure. So it was displaced farther south. So if you were looking at the west coast of Mexico, there were tons of thunderstorms blowing up over the western part of Mexico. So that high pressure is very critical in drawing up monsoonal moisture across Arizona. And since it was displaced farther south, most of the monsoonal thunderstorm activity was over Mexico over the summer.
So that's it. Do you know how New Mexico fared, or Texas? Because isn't New Mexico kind of in with our monsoon as well? They're impacted, aren't they?
Right, yeah, they are. But I'm not really sure how New Mexico fared.
Not your state, of course, but I thought maybe you...
Sure, but you know, Texas, it's typically their dry time of the year because the high pressure is typically over Texas and New Mexico. So
we just missed out. We missed out on the monsoon. It's the driest since, what did you say, 1899 for Flagstaff?
On record, yeah.
What does that mean?
So
precipitation-wise?
Less than 2 inches since June 15th at the Flagstaff airport.
And the normal for Flagstaff?
It was about 7 inches during monsoon season.
Okay, so 5 inches of water. That's a lot of water. And we're short 5 inches up there.
Right. However, again, big picture.
We might make it up.
Well, big picture, since January 1st, we're still 1 inch above normal for precipitation if you take into account January 1st through September 23rd.
Oh, so we're still ahead.
We're still ahead for the year. It's just monsoon season.
Thank goodness for the big winter, right?
Exactly.
Well, the winter saves the day. We got to take our first break. Also, Weather Service is going to be having an open house coming up on Saturday, 11 to 4. We'll talk more about that during the show. This is Countywide. Tony Merriman, warning coordinator for the National Weather Service in Flagstaff in studio today. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at Gettle'sHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle. Get Gettle's.
Hi, this is Greg at Verde Solar Power. You know, Arizona has lots of clean, renewable sunshine, and we want to help you take advantage of it with our quality solar installations, and we offer to beat any written offer on a residential solar electric system. So bring us your electric bill and let us show you how solar power will save you money. We're located conveniently here in the Verde Valley and are dedicated to helping the valley go solar. So remember, the energy solution comes up every morning.
Hi, Todd of Todd's Appliances, your hometown appliance store. Studies have shown that when you buy from an independently, locally owned business rather than a box store, a lot more of your money stays local, therefore strengthening our community. From basic to high-end, we carry name brand appliances. Visit our store on Main Street in Camp Verde. With same-day, next-day service, we service what we sell what we service the least. TODD'sAppliances.com, 567-3062.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert, filling in for Smokey because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to County Eye. Sitting down with Tony Merriman from the National Weather Service in Flagstaff. We just kind of recapped the great winter we had and how it's actually saved us through the monsoon this year. Monsoon was nothing. Did anybody during the monsoon season actually get their normal amount or above normal?
So the short answer is no. It's been pretty much well below normal across most of the state. Even so, it was a dry monsoon for the state.
Okay,
sure.
Darren McCollum, I was talking to him on Friday, and I think I asked him that same kind of question. Okay, but with these storms that came through, I thought maybe we had to change over the weekend. But he had said that it was pretty unusual to see some parts of the state typically do okay. Like I felt like the Tucson areas. He's mentioned that the White Mountains probably did about the best. Tucson up into the White Mountains area probably did about the best out of the whole state. But the rest of us were left high and dry.
Yeah, so it's basically where most of the population was. We were pretty dry for sure.
Which means with that happening, and there's so many of us that like to go out and recreate in the woods, wildfire season picked up too. I don't know that we had a lot of human-caused fires we had a few. The museum fire obviously was a human-caused fire. We know that now. But there was a lot of lightning strikes, a lot of management fires this year. How busy were you guys with going out and helping out with the fires this year?
So basically we do what are called spot forecasts. So for any new fire start, we'll do a spot forecast for the Forest Service so they know how to manage the fire as it's going across. So that was kind of the other nice part. Even though the fire danger was typically medium to high, which means the fuels were pretty dry, the fire weather aspect, humidities were a little higher and the winds were a lot less, so we weren't worried about fire spread. So fire starts, we saw quite a bit of those, but the spread, it was very manageable, so the Forest Service just kept managing those fires, and we were just doing easily 3 to 6 spot forecasts every day, and we're still doing them.
I suppose so. Yeah, so throughout the day you tell them what the weather's doing and how it's changing, because we know fires can make their own kind of weather events inside them.
Sure. So we generally provide them with point-specific forecasts, so where to stage their resources, things like that, and they'll make decisions based off our forecast.
And you've probably been extremely busy with Coconino County because of the museum fire and the washes that lead down into Sunnyside, but we haven't really seen any flooding, have we?
Right. So we really lucked out because usually after a burn scar like that, we'll see some post-fire flows, some flash flooding, and because we had such a dry monsoon season, we didn't have to really worry too much about that. The county put a lot of mitigation measures in place just to be prepared, and luckily we didn't have to utilize those too much.
Yeah.
So,
I'm thinking the bear teams too that come in, the burn area emergency response teams that come in after these wildfires and kind of look at this. Okay, this is the moonscape we have here to deal with. These are the areas where the big trouble spots are. Hopefully the mitigation they do in those areas has a chance to kind of grab hold with the fact that we haven't had a lot of rain, which could wash some of that work out.
Right.
Hopefully it's just enough to kind of get things to grow back up, grab those soils, get things going again, and then maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah, so the bear team, they do the burn severity index and just to see just how bad the burn was, how intense it was. And so from that analysis, they decide to either spread like wheat or some other vegetation across there to try to accelerate any kind of vegetative growth to mitigate any kind of runoff that otherwise would occur. Because usually after a burn, if it rains, I mean the runoff, it's basically like raining on concrete.
Sure.
And it's all pure runoff. There's no absorption into the earth like it normally should. So vegetation helps that take hold.
We really saw that with the Schultz fire in Flagstaff. We really saw that. Donny Park and that area really got pounded by the monsoon that year. I remember the monsoon was pretty darn good. Prior to this one this year, the last 3 have been pretty wet, if I remember right. I think we were having showers at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we were having them in the evening as well. It was very active, where this year it wasn't like that. But yeah, the Schultz fire, I think, is a classic example of just how devastating that runoff can be, because it did burn that side of that mountain like glass. Yeah. And it just came down and flooded those areas so badly. I think they're still making repairs out there from the Schultz fire.
Yeah, I think there's additional mitigation measures being implemented.
Yeah. All right. Big question for you now. All right. I've already asked this once to the Weather Service guys. You guys are all great. You know I love you. I got you on every Friday and Saturday talking about our weekend weather and a look at the week ahead. Hopefully the public enjoys those. It's always nice to have you guys come in and talk about it, whichever one it happens to be. Fall and winter. Fall and winter are coming. Well, no, they're here. Fall is here.
Fall is here.
Winter's just around the corner. It's going to be the holiday season, the last 3 months of the year. It's going to be hustle bustle. What are we going to be in store for Tony Merriman?
So
there's a setup, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess it up.
Look at that, right? Don't mess it up.
So this fall, actually, with us getting into more westerly flow and better chances for low pressure systems to come off the Pacific Ocean, what we're looking at for this fall, October, November, December, it's actually odds and tilted in favor of wetter than normal with that setup. It's just slightly tilted in favor of that. So that's generally the outlook for the fall. Kind of looking at a little wetter than normal, and then depending on the source region of these low pressure systems, if it comes down from Alaska, it might be cooler than normal. If they come from the from the East Pacific, it might be a little warmer than normal. So could it be rain, could it be snow, whatever the case is, the chances are slightly tilted in favor for wetter than normal for this fall for precipitation, just because the chances of these low pressure systems coming in off the Pacific Ocean moving across Arizona.
Okay. So like we saw on Monday. That's
similar to Monday.
Similar to Monday. Okay. Yep. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's fall. That's nice news.
Yeah. And then for the winter, basically it's equal chances for above normal, near normal, or below normal precipitation.
Okay.
But basically what the Climate Prediction Center is also forecasting for the winter is odds tilted in favor of above normal temperatures. So if anything, basically that's kind of what we've been seeing in recent trends, above normal temperatures through the whole winter, if we were to average the whole winter. And as far as the precipitation signals, equal chances, that's what the winter looks like.
Gosh, that winter prediction bothers me the most. I guess I think in years past we get a few of those cold storms that come through, say, Christmas time, January, and then you get that heat up in February. February always seems to be kind of the trigger month. I think it was '93 we had the flooding. In 2010 we had a lot of snow. But that February month, if we get that snow in December, January, and if it's anything substantial, and then we get the warmer storms like you're talking about that come off the eastern Pacific, right? That's where they would become.
Right.
It tends to be more of a rain type event as opposed to a snow event, because it is so warm and snow levels stay way up high. So then you got all that rain on top of all that snow, and then you're like, oh, this is flooding.
Yeah, and that's typically when we do see the most flooding, especially like Oak Creek, Verde River,
Beaver
Creek, February. If you look at all our record flood events, it's always in February.
I'm always watching February too. I'm always watching February.
We are too, for sure.
Okay, so let's take another break. National Weather Service warning. Coordinator Tony Merriman in studio today. Stick around, countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Parents, you know as well as I do, there's nothing more important than your children. Don't you love to look in their eyes and see the love? Make sure they can see that love in your eyes by having their eyes examined. You can't tell how well your kids see, but Dr. Houston at Camp Verde Eye Care certainly can. Call 567-3330 to make an appointment. You'll be glad you did. Camp Verde Eye Care at 567-3330. They really do care.
Hi, this is Michelle and I welcome you to Sedona Paint Centre. We are here to help you find the perfect color scheme and product for your home and business. Enjoy free in-store and in-home color consultations and free paint samples in a color of your choice. As a special offer to you, just mention this ad and save an extra 10% and enjoy 30% off store-wide.
Turning your real estate dreams and goals into reality, I'm Claudette Johnson with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. For more than 7 years, I've helped both real estate buyers and sellers put me and my team's extensive knowledge of the Sedona and Verde Valley area to work for you. Come see a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath, single-level home with a pool at 50 Sedona Street. You'll love the Sedona Red Rock views from this VOC area home. We turn your real estate goals into reality. Claudette Johnson at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services of Arizona.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out."
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left of the program. If you've ever wanted to know how Tony and everybody else of the National Weather Service in Flagstaff do the job, they got an open house coming up on Saturday, September 28th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I've gone once. That was years ago. And then I've come to the Weather Service office a couple other times. It's really amazing to go see what you guys look at and how you're predicting the weather. I think people forget that it is the weather. It is just something out in the sky that's happening. But you guys are predicting what it's going to do, and you do a very good job, I think, in the state, for the northern half of the state, because not only do you have to deal with the elevation of 3,000 feet and down to Black Canyon City. Black Canyon City?
Yeah.
Is that's the southernmost reach for the Weather Service in Flagstaff, right?
Yep.
Black Canyon City to the Verde Valley, and then you've got to climb up on the Mogollon Rim, where you jump up to 6,500, 7,000 feet.
Right.
Across that plateau, excuse me, and then you got the San Francisco peaks and the mountains.
Right. Yeah.
So weather changes a lot in between these elevations.
Right. And not only that, you go farther north into the Grand Canyon, so it's a lot hotter at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, Phantom Ranch. We go all the way to Utah, northeast to the Four Corners, and east to the New Mexico border.
It's got to be challenging.
It's very challenging. You have all these microclimates to account for, and but we rely on our volunteer observers to let us know what the weather is going to be like. And on Facebook, Twitter, they do a great job letting us know what the weather's like, and we can adjust the forecast.
That's gotten really amazing, hasn't it? The information you guys receive immediately, because I follow you guys, so I see that stuff coming in because you put it back out again. And it is pretty amazing to see, you got grape-sized fruit hail over here, and you've got pea-sized hail over here. It's got to really help you guys figure out what that's going to be. But you're going to have weather balloons. You're going to launch weather balloons, and you do this several times a day.
Right. So typically we launch twice a day, 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that's coordinated throughout the world. That's why it's on a weird time scale. So that's at noon and midnight on the international date line. So that's 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Arizona time.
But when the whole world launches those balloons at the same time, it gives you a picture of the atmosphere around the entire world at the same time.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. So that's the observation. All of that data gets sent to centers that run computer models. So we have one in Washington, D.C., there's one in Canada, one in Europe, the Navy used to have one, and basically we have all of these computer models that ingest not only the balloon data, but also satellite data as well, and try to run all kinds of equations to predict the future state of the atmosphere. And so that's what we have to use whenever we come up with a forecast, is just multiple computer models. And
wait, are you telling me a computer does all this and you guys just type it out for it?
Well,
no, it's not that easy. I know it's not that easy. It's not like that. But that's amazing, all around the world at the same time. And that's just part of it. We're going to be able to tour the facility, right?
Yep.
Free hot dogs.
Free hot dogs, for sure.
Okay. All right, and then just to have these guys around, and ladies, Megan and Emily will be there as well too. So just to ask them how this comes about and to see how it comes about, I think would be very interesting. So that's coming up on Saturday, September 28th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., National Weather Service office. They say Flagstaff, but they're in Belmont, right next to Camp Navajo, so you can't miss it.
Right.
We're out of time.
All right,
Tony,
thanks, Paul.
Always good to see you. Website is weather.gov/Flagstaff. Weather.gov/Flagstaff. That's today's countywide. Thanks for watching, listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.